Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing part 4 in the knife safety and knife use series, and we're going to talk about batoning. Batoning is probably one of the biggest things that you hear people complain and argue over when it comes to bushcraft. There are those that say, yes, it's a great idea. There's others that say, no, don't ever do it. You don't ever beat on your knife. So, take it for what it is. Now, I do believe it has a place, but I will also be the first to tell you the most important part when batoning is to not over exceed the limit of your tools. If you've got a 5-inch piece of wood and a 5-inch blade knife, you're kind of exceeding the limits of the tool, so you need to change tools. Batoning to me is used for smaller pieces of wood. This piece here is about as big a piece as I would be willing to baton. I don't know how this is going to baton because a lot of this is still green. It just come out of the neighbor's yard. They had a willow tree that the ice took down a bunch of limbs, and I cleaned it up for them, and I've got a big pile out here in the backyard of willow. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a baton. That is the tool that you use to beat your knife or axe or whatever tool you're using through a piece of wood. There are a couple of things to consider when doing that. Any piece of wood will work as a baton, but the more mass that piece of wood has, the better it's going to work. By that, you could take a piece of wood that diameter and that long and use it as a baton. But a piece of wood that size is not going to work as well as a piece of wood this size. So take that into consideration. If you're trying to split a piece of wood that big and trying to drive a knife through with a piece of wood that big, you're going to wear yourself out trying to do it. That's where something like that would be a whole lot more conducive to what you're doing. First thing we're going to do, though, we're going to take a couple of tools here and make us a baton. I've got my LT Wright Bushcrafter out here. I've also brought the Gibson axe out, and then I've got my Boreal 21. So I'm gonna get things set up here, get my gloves on, and we'll make a baton real quick. This piece of wood I'm going to use, as you can see, it's a little bit big to hold and beat. You could do it, but in order to make that a little more user-friendly, we're going to reduce one end of it. So let me get you down here where you can see what I'm doing, and we'll go from there. Figures ain't got enough room to adjust it down. There we go. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up about a hand's length from the bottom, and I'm going to make a cut all the way around this. Trying not to go too deep. Now that that's done, get you raised back up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the knife, set it on here, and start removing material down to my cut. once I get this finished, you'll see what I mean about making it a little more user-friendly. Now, this technique, you keep doing it with your knife, or you can even do it with a small axe. I'll demonstrate here with the Gibson. Oh. All you're wanting to do is just reduce the diameter of this down so it's a little more comfortable in the hand. Oh, there we go. That's better. Still needs some more work, but we'll do more to it later. I'm not going to spend the whole video here letting you all watch me carve out a handle. All right. The whole purpose of batoning wood is you're turning big pieces into little pieces. And a lot of times you'll have to do this in wet conditions to get to dry material inside of a piece of wood. But anyway you go, when you're batoning, you're turning big pieces into little pieces. So again, like I said, you do not want to exceed the limits of your tools. If you'll look at this piece here, it's almost as wide as the knife blade. Turn it that way, it's not quite as wide that way, but you want to get the knife on it. Now you could go right straight to the center and split this if you wanted to. That's what I'm going to do for this video, but you could also start splitting pieces off the side instead of going straight to the center. Once you do is you set your knife up, get it centered. One thing, if you can see it, the edge of the grind, the little plunge line there at the handle, is not up against the wood. And then you do that, and as you can see, it's split it. Now I've got two pieces. Now in wet weather, this material inside this would be dry, and you could take it, process this down farther to make your kindling, your shavings, and all of that off of it. If you were going to make a utensil, a spoon, you could take this Set that knife up again. Baton that down. Then you've got this, and then you could start working that down to make your spoon or whatever other utensil you're going to make out of it, spatula, whatever. But once you get it that way, then you just keep working it and breaking it down more. Into whatever size you want. As you can see those there. If I need something a little bit bigger, do that, get a little bit bigger piece. Then if I had to, I could take that and keep working them down into smaller pieces for kindling or anything like that that I needed. Once they get down to a certain thickness, you won't need your baton anymore. You can take it and do it with your hand. And just keep working stuff down to get whatever size you're looking for whatever purpose you're doing. And then from here, of course, if you needed to, I don't know how well this will work, but you could take and start making your feathers. If you notice, these aren't curling too much. The reason for that's because this wood is green and still wet. The drier the wood, the more they'll curl, I have found. But the reason I started with batoning first is because in this series of notches and stuff that I'm going to show, start out with the biggest and we're going to work down to the smallest. So that's why I started out with the batoning first. I'm going to try not to keep this too long. You get the general idea of what I'm talking about here. Remember, the mass of your baton is going to make a world of difference in how you work. I could have done this with, well, here, I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick. This is a little extreme, but I've got this there. I can baton this with this little piece of wood here. But as you can see, it takes a whole lot more effort than, same piece of wood, doing that and using the big one. 2 hits and it was through it. So just little things to take into consideration. Again, doing this, if you notice how I'm setting, knife's out in front of me, it's away from the inside of my legs. I'm cutting on top of something, which is always a good idea. You could do this on the ground, but a lot of times on the ground, when you start doing this, as you're trying to drive your baton through, or your knife through the piece of wood is sinking the ground, or to turn over, or to want to twist. So having a good solid work surface makes a world of difference. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I'll get another one out for you here, probably the first part of next week. I moved my tripod and my camera got twisted. We'll go into the different types of notches and making notches. If the weather's fitting, I'm going to try to get outside and do it. If not, I'll have to do it in the house. I know we've got a bunch of rain coming this weekend, so who knows what it'll be like Monday and Tuesday. But you all have a good day. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll get the next one up for you soon.